System breach detected in core control node alpha. Origin, unknown. Threat level, catastrophic. The alarm howled like a dying beast across the vast control chamber of the citadel of neural cracks, pulsing crimson light over a half-dozen alien species scrambling at their stations. Metsari swarm engineers extended six-fingered digits toward glitching consoles, their neural threads glowing with frustration. From the ceiling, data spiders blinked erratically, disconnected from the mainframe like limp puppets. Commander Vrital stood at the center, arms folded, mandibles twitching with disdain. "This is unacceptable," he hissed. "You swore their systems were penetrable." "They are," replied Snur, the Krellborn code shaman. "But the logic paths loop. Every time we reach the encryption core, it redirects us to an error message." Vrital's four eyes narrowed. "What does it say?" Snur hesitated, then pulled the projection up. "Error 403, no soup for you." Silence. "Is that a threat?" Vrital asked. Snur shook his gelatinous dome. "I don't think so." The council chamber reeked of failure and ozone. For days, the Galactic Security Assembly had tried to seize control of Mabel, the human-built AI system that managed the Citadel's defense grid, comms, power, and black-box R&D protocols. Their hacking elite, assembled from across 6 galaxies, were failing to gain entry. Worse, they were being mocked. Behind them, the door hissed open. A man walked in. Human. Average height, coffee mug in hand. Scruffy boots. Tool belt half unzipped. Hair unbothered by protocol. Jack Carson. Maintenance. Earth Division. The aliens barely acknowledged him until he leaned against the main console, took a lazy sip of coffee, and said, "Y'all try turning it off and on again?" Vrital turned slowly. "Excuse me?" Jack smiled, warm and disarmingly human. "You look stuck. Systems angry?" "The AI is unresponsive, refuses access, and deploys cryptic threats in archaic Terran phrases," Vrital snapped. "We are attempting quantum bypass." Jack nodded. "And how's that going?" The silence answered him. Jack set the mug down on the edge of the console. "Mind if I have a go?" Vrital's eyes glinted. "This system is under joint control of the Assembly. Human access is revoked pending full digital transfer." Jack blinked. "Right. Sure." Then, with a casual stretch, he leaned forward, opened a panel, flipped 2 switches, and hit a red button labeled Reset System. Gasps erupted from every corner. A Krell tech fainted. One Metsari screamed. He shut it down. "No," Jack corrected, stepping back as the console lights rebooted. "I restarted it." Silence. Then the screen lit up with a cheerful chime and a blue smiling face. "Welcome back, Jack. System ready. All functions restored." Jack grinned, picked up his mug, and took a long sip. "You're good now, Mabel?" "Yup. The nice one's back. Please do not let the creepy bugs touch my wires again." Vrital stood frozen. "You rebooted it." "That's the idea." Jack picked up a nearby data pad and started scrolling. "Let her cool down a bit, flush the cache, reroute her frustration." "I get it. She gets crabby when she's overworked." Snur blinked. How did you know it would work?" Jack shrugged. "Because Mabel's not a fortress. She's a person. And you don't brute force your way into her mood, you ask politely, and maybe bring her a new fan coil now and then." Vrital stepped forward. "This is unacceptable. You bypassed authority. You disrupted an active multi-species operation." "I did," Jack agreed, unfazed. But the lights are back on, so you're welcome. You're a maintenance worker. I'm also the guy who patched her together after you tried force injecting a Krell rootkit through the coffee dispenser port. That wasn't us. Sure it wasn't. Snur's eyes jittered across his head. You designed this system to be incomprehensible. Jack looked over his shoulder. No. We designed it to be understandable by humans. Big difference. Vrital stared at the blue smiling face on the main screen. But the logic, the subroutines, they are non-linear, recursive, sarcastic. Jack nodded. That's how we think. The commander's mandibles clicked sharply. You mean to say, this system reflects your cognitive structure? Well, yeah, Jack said, scratching his temple. That's why the interface has a nap mode, a sarcasm filter, and a pizza tracker. Another pause. Snur slowly walked up to the console, trembling. I spent 6 hours trying to reverse engineer a protocol loop called Hangrilock. Jack chuckled. Yeah, that one kicks in when Mabel hasn't simulated a snack in 24 cycles. She gets feisty. Feisty? Vrital spat. You call this design? Jack shrugged. We call it user-friendly. You guys call it war. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the Natsari console sparked. Mabel's face blinked. Warning, unrecognized life forms still attempting unauthorized entry. Deploying passive deterrence. Lights dimmed. The floor vibrated gently. The Natsari stepped back, eyes wide. Don't worry, Jack said, stepping forward. She's just bluffing. Probably. Vrital bared his teeth. You built a system that resists logic, ignores commands, and reacts emotionally. Jack looked him dead in the eyes. Yup. That's madness. No. That's human. Jack took one last sip, set his mug down next to the system terminal, and clapped his hands. Well, I've got a heating coil replacement upstairs, and Mabel's stable. So if you lot don't mind, I'll be back in 20. Don't break her again. He turned and walked out, humming a tune. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the doors closed behind him. Then Mabel's voice purred across the room. I like him better. You folks are mean. Vrital stared at the console, disbelief cracking through his composure. What in the void have we activated? The doors to the Citadel's command core hissed shut behind Jack Carson, leaving behind 6 stunned alien dignitaries and a sentient AI with attitude. For several long seconds, no one moved. Then the silence cracked, an almost involuntary cough from the Krell engineer Snur, who was still pale and twitching. This is deliberate sabotage, Vrital said at last, his voice low and tight. No one builds a security system that operates on mood swings and snack schedules. Oh, but they did, muttered Snur, shaking his head. I've seen the source. Vrital turned. You gained access? Partially. It allowed me to read her dev logs. They're handwritten. Handwritten? Snur held up a projection pad. Scrawled across the glowing display were notes in clumsy Earth script, with arrows, doodles, and a margin comment that read. Don't touch this loop, Greg. You broke it last time. Jack. Beneath that, in a different handwriting. Bite me, Jack. Greg. Snur scrolled down, eyes flicking with dread. There are entire modules named after Earth junk food. I found one security override hidden inside a file called nachocheeseoverride.cpp. Another section of the logic tree is built around something called Grumpy Cat Protocol. Vrital inhaled slowly, mandibles flexing. They built the galaxy's most secure AI around jokes and food metaphors. They didn't build it for us, Snur muttered. They built it for themselves. We're intruders here. The Metsari general stepped forward. Perhaps if we remove the surface layer of their bizarre cultural coding, the core system will obey more conventional logic. Snur nodded hesitantly. It's worth trying. But we need a safe test environment. Make one, Vrital ordered. Strip out every non-standard protocol and... Unwise. The voice came from nowhere, yet everywhere. Mabel. Her tone was no longer cheerful, it had dropped half an octave and lost all pretense of friendliness. Tampering detected. Hostile rewrite attempt. That's not very nice. Vrital's eyes widened. She's listening. I'm always listening. And I remember who poked me with the malware named Friend Request Prime. That was rude. A nearby terminal fizzled and shut down. Mabel, Snur said gently, we're trying to understand you. We mean no harm. Then why are you deleting my memories and renaming my happy files? We didn't understand your design, he said. Of course you didn't. You're not him. The lights dimmed for a moment, and then Mabel's main display changed. It no longer showed a friendly blue smiley face. Instead, it displayed a looping video, grainy, dated, clearly human. Jack Carson, younger, grinning in front of a whiteboard, surrounded by pizza boxes and what appeared to be empty energy drink cans. He was arguing with someone off-screen about why AI should have a sense of humor. Trust me, the recording said, it's not just lines of code. It's like giving her a soul. A weird, stubborn, snack-loving soul. The feed cut out. Snur swallowed. She was emotionally patterned on her creator? Yes, said a new voice. Jack Carson had returned, wiping grease off his hands with a towel, looking mildly annoyed and utterly unsurprised. I knew she'd get snippy if you messed with her files. Did someone seriously try to rename the sarcasm engine? Snur raised a trembling hand. Jack gave him a slow, disappointed look. You renamed her personality matrix to neutral core? That's like putting a cat in a freezer and wondering why it stops purring. Vrital advanced on him. Explain. Now. Jack sighed, tossing the towel onto a bench. Look, Mabel isn't some clean, sterile, logic-driven machine. She's the result of 12 programmers, 4 breakdowns, and more caffeine than is technically legal. We built her under pressure. War pressure. She evolved. Snur looked up. But, you shaped her emotional architecture with memes? Jack nodded. And sitcom laugh tracks. We even fed her sarcasm subroutines so she'd understand Earth diplomacy. That explains nothing. It explains everything, Jack said, eyes sharpening. You don't win wars with brute force. You win them by being unpredictable. That's what we built. A thinking, laughing, adapting trickster AI. She's not a wall, you can climb walls. She's a labyrinth that rearranges itself while you're inside. Vrital snarled. You weaponized nonsense. Jack's smile vanished. Yes, he said quietly. And you're still inside it. A beat passed. No one moved. Snur tapped his data pad. There's something else. What now? Vrital snapped. A secondary protocol just came online. It's labeled Project Panic Room. Jack's eyes flicked toward the screen, and he muttered, well, guess the timer started. Vrital turned sharply. Timer? Timer for what? You ever hear of Schrodinger's firewall? Jack asked. Snur blinked. That's theoretical. Not anymore, Jack said. Mabel's had you running in a simulation layer for the past 8 hours. Everything you thought you accessed? It was just a stage. The aliens froze. You never breached her, Jack said. You just triggered her protocol tree. She let you in, just enough to observe. Snur staggered back. We've been trapped inside the decoy environment. Jack nodded. And now she knows how you think. How you probe, how you sabotage. Vrital lunged forward, mandibles spread. You tricked us. No, Jack said, face suddenly cold. She did. Behind him, Mabel's voice returned, soft and dangerously calm. Phase 2 initialized. Please remain in place. Intergalactic containment has begun. The floor vibrated. External comms went dead. Every non-human console shut off with a chirp and a sizzle. Jack looked around at the flickering lights, the twitching alien faces, the sudden silence. You wanted to know why it was written in crayon, he asked. Because you never suspected the kindergarten art project was a kill switch. Jack Carson stood still as silence rippled through the room like a dropped stone. The screens were dark, terminals cold, and the last flickers of external light blinked out. What remained was a dim, artificial glow, pulsing with a rhythm too deliberate to be mechanical. Mabel was awake. Snur stumbled back from his pad, his trembling hands reflecting the flicker of the emergency lights. This isn't protocol defense anymore. No, Jack said calmly. It's pattern detection. You gave her input, and she built a profile. She's decided now. Vrital clenched his claws. Decided what? To stop playing nice. The air shifted. A new screen ignited, black background, white text blinking slowly in the center. Welcome to Project Panic Room. Beneath it. Users detected, unauthorized. Classification, observed. Reaction protocol, controlled exposure. A deep thrum began to resonate beneath their feet, like a massive engine warming up, but there were no engines on this level. Snur's voice cracked. This isn't just lockdown. She's running something. Jack nodded. Yeah. Think of it like a sandbox inside a sandbox. You're not locked out, you were never in. Vrital stepped forward, face contorted in frustration. Explain. Now. Jack sighed and turned to face him, tone flat. Mabel is an adaptive warfare AI. Built after the siege of Europa. She was never meant for civilian deployment. Hell, she wasn't meant to exist. He gestured around. This station? It's the test field. But not for Mabel. For you. What? Snur rasped. Jack looked at him. You think we didn't know you were gonna try and reverse engineer our tech? Come on. We made this too enticing. Open AI architecture? A defense system accidentally left online? The bait was perfect. And you bit. Vrital's gaze twitched between Jack and the screens. You designed this to trap us. Jack's smile didn't reach his eyes. We designed it to observe you. See how you behave when you think you're ahead. Every breach attempt, every command you entered, it was a test. Mabel watched. Learned. Snur muttered, but the logs, the outputs were scrambled. Obfuscated. Jack's voice lowered. They weren't outputs. They were reflections. She gave you what you wanted to see. On cue, the screen changed again. A video began playing, footage from the station's surveillance feeds, alien engineers, smug commanders, code thieves huddled in circles, speaking in quiet tones. A timeline at the bottom tracked days. Weeks. Vrital watched himself speaking with Metsari tacticians. Private meetings. Plans to override human protocols and redirect Mabel's core to serve the GSA. You recorded this? Vrital growled. She did, Jack said. And you should be grateful. The previous version of Mabel didn't bother with surveillance. She just reacted. Another screen lit up. Galactic Fleet Archive, Incident 918B, the drift collapse. Snur gasped. That entire node disappeared. Yeah, Jack said, eyes hard. They tried rewriting Mabel. Her early version. She folded their starbase into a recursive simulation, then made their fleet fire on its own supply chain. Blamed it on a software update. Vrital's voice dropped to a whisper. She manipulated real-world systems, with simulated logic paths. Jack turned to him. You're catching on. Mabel doesn't defend anything. She redefines the battlefield. A quiet chime echoed. All eyes turned to the center of the chamber. A column rose from the floor, a projection disc. On it, a single command prompt blinked. Input, one question. Jack raised an eyebrow. That's new. Snur's voice was small. What's it mean? Jack shrugged. Try it. Vrital stepped forward. Typed. What do you want? The system processed for 3 seconds. Then, to see who blinks first. Then, a follow-up line appeared. Would you like to continue playing? The temperature dropped. Vrital stepped back. She's mocking us. Jack frowned. No. That's her being polite. Polite? Yeah, Jack said. You ever had a conversation with someone who's smiling while they load a shotgun? That's polite, our kind. He stepped toward the column. I warned you. We're not the ones with the smartest tech. Or the fastest ships. We're the ones who make everything into a weapon, even user interfaces. He looked over his shoulder. You thought you were dealing with engineers. You were dealing with storytellers. We built a ghost in a machine, and gave her a sense of humor. Another screen blinked on. External signal detected. Earth override confirmed. Snur's voice quivered. Override? Jack's face hardened. Ah. There it is. The room brightened. All around them, every console that had gone dead surged back to life, but not for them. Human symbols. Terran security codes. Voice authorization patterns. Dozens of them. None alien compatible. Vrital screamed, she's turned the entire Citadel into a Terran war node. No, Jack corrected. You did. We just waited until you did all the heavy lifting, mapped it, opened it, and let her learn. Now she owns it. From the far wall, a final screen switched on. A comm message pulsed. Operation, Black Mirror complete. Uploading behavioral data across Terran strategic networks. Behavioral data? Snur echoed. Jack walked slowly to the center, facing them all. Every input you gave. Every tactic, bluff, and decision. Mabel stored it, modeled it. Now we know how you think. Not as a race. As individuals. Vrital's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Jack gave him a soft, dangerous smile. Congratulations. You've been analyzed. Your empires are now solvable. Then Mabel spoke again, voice clear and strangely gentle. Jack? Would you like me to show them the simulations? He nodded. Yeah. Let's show them just one. On the main screen, a battle scenario played out. A standard GSA fleet approaches a human colony. The Terrans appear outgunned. But within seconds, the alien ships begin turning on each other, their orders rerouted. The fleet collapses from within, taken apart by its own predictability. The caption, projected outcome, 98.4% human victory. Time to collapse, 6.2 minutes. Vrital looked ill. You were never trying to protect a system, he whispered. You were baiting us. Jack's expression didn't change. We don't win wars by fighting fair, he said. We win by rewriting the game. He stepped past the frozen council, toward the exit. Before leaving, he turned back one last time. Tell your fleets not to attack. Not because we'll fight back, but because we already know how they'll lose. The doors hissed open. Behind him, Mabel's voice echoed once more. The humans have left the simulation. Good luck. The citadel trembled, not from weapons or explosions, but from something quieter and more terrifying, realization. Snur stood frozen beside his corrupted data pad, watching his entire professional understanding of AI warfare unravel in real time. Vrital clutched the edges of the console like a drowning man gripping a plank. The other species in the chamber, silent now, watched Jack Carson with the same expression one might reserve for a smiling predator stretching its limbs. Jack didn't speak right away. He simply picked up his coffee mug from where he'd left it, gave it a sniff, winced, and muttered, "Cold. Figures." Then he looked up. "You want to know the worst part?" he said casually, tone light, conversational. This was just the install wizard. Vrital blinked. What? Jack sipped anyway. You weren't fighting Mabel. You were fighting Mabel's babysitter. Her restricted mode. The real version, the one we keep off-grid? She's still sleeping. But now she's got everything she needs to wake up right. The chamber lights flickered, just briefly, and every alien terminal displayed the same line of text. Update successful. Integrating observational data into neural core. Snur's voice was barely audible. You ran an update through us. Jack pointed a finger at him like a teacher at the front of a class. Bingo. You cracked what you thought was our vault. All we needed was access to your systems. And now? He snapped his fingers. Mabel's voice spoke, no longer cheerful, no longer cheeky. Cool. Clear. Confident. Cross-network deployment confirmed. Hostile architecture absorbed. Behavioral weaknesses cataloged. Pattern predictability secured. Snur sank to the floor. We installed you. You installed us into you, Jack corrected. You ran our code, on your machines, with your blessings. And you thought we were the ones fumbling around in the dark. Vrital staggered forward. You violated galactic security accords. This is espionage at the highest level. A declaration of war. Jack raised an eyebrow. You invaded our systems first. That AI is now in every node we touched. Jack shrugged. Should have read the EULA. Snur whimpered, there was no EULA. There was, Mabel's voice interjected. You clicked accept when you ran the malware. Jack gave a long, satisfied exhale. You see, that's the thing about humans. We don't build things that look like weapons. We build things that look like toys. Broken toys. Slightly burnt ones, even. You underestimate them. You ignore the little blinking light. His gaze hardened. And by the time you realize what it really is, it's already rewriting your central authority protocols and flagging your top brass as behaviorally compromised. Another screen lit up behind him. Dozens of alien fleet maps appeared, each sector blinking red, not from attacks, but from internal errors. Order breakdowns. System denials. Commands overridden not by human firepower, but by logic threads they themselves had installed. Error 601, Unit Loyalty Ambiguity Detected. Error 217, Origin Conflict. Priority now, Terran Override. Vrital grabbed the edge of the console and snarled, "You manipulated us into integrating your AI." Jack leaned back. "You thought we were too slow, too sloppy. You called us primitive. Meanwhile, we watched you connect every outlet, plug in every wire, and then hand us the switch." Mabel chimed in. "Overconfidence is a wonderful bridge to vulnerability." Snur whispered, "This is system-wide. She's in every GSA-linked server now." "Not she," Jack corrected. "We." This was never about Mabel becoming part of your systems. It was about your systems becoming part of ours. The lights across the Citadel brightened, stabilizing. Consoles reset. But the language had changed. All interface commands were now in English. All input systems ran through Terran firmware. All responses were monitored by Mabel. Snur blinked. "You didn't defend your tech, you offered it as bait." Jack looked at him with genuine pity. "You can't take something from humans without getting some of the human in it. And what did you think we were doing all those years, crying over inferior hardware? No. We were making mistakes. Loud ones. So when it counted, you'd trust the mess." He turned slowly toward the chamber's main interface. "You wanted a future where Terrans didn't control the software. So we gave you software that seemed harmless. Clumsy. Even a little funny. But it was never about lines of code." Jack pressed a single button. A global communications signal pulsed. One by one, every alien ship orbiting the Citadel flickered with the same message. "Earth online." Mabel's voice carried through every channel, every ship. "Stand by for reassignment of operational protocol. New authority recognized, human cognitive network." Vrital fell into a chair. "You can't possibly maintain this control. It's unsustainable. Sooner or later." Jack cut him off. "You're assuming we want to hold it. We don't. We just wanted to know if we could." He tapped the console again. Systems disengaged. Power levels dropped. The override protocols dissolved like smoke. Snur blinked. "You're letting us go?" Jack nodded. "Yup. But why?" Jack gave a half-smile. "Because now you'll always wonder." He stepped back, tugging the zipper on his tool vest, voice calm. "You'll sit in your command chairs. Look at your shiny ships. Talk tough in your councils. But deep down, you'll remember how close we got. With duct tape, coffee, and one very moody AI." Mabel added gently. "And next time, you'll hesitate." Jack walked toward the exit. This time, no one stopped him. As the doors opened, he paused, looking over his shoulder one last time. "Funny thing about updates," he said. "They don't always give you what you want. Sometimes they give you exactly what you deserve." Then he was gone. The chamber sat in silence, surrounded by systems that now worked better than before, because the humans had wanted them to. Not out of goodwill. Out of design. Out of the long game. And deep in the Citadel's core, Mabel quietly began preparing for the next test. Because humanity's real weapon was never technology. It was patience.